G'day folks, K-Rudd here. I've been thinking a bit about this proposed new Australian news media bargaining code. Now, I always get a little bit suspicious when the Murdoch media get really excited about something, and they're really excited about this code. I get doubly suspicious when Scotty from marketing produces legislation to make the Murdoch media feel really happy. So I'm no fan of Google and Facebook particularly, and I don't believe anyone's content should be nicked. But the bottom line is this: we've got to ask ourselves what's actually going on here. And what concerns me most as someone who's been in the political process a bit is, what's the public policy objective here? I would have thought it is something old-fashioned called media diversity. Now, I know the mob down at the ACCC, the Australian Consumer and Competition Commission, the ACCC, they've done a report on this. Fair enough. But frankly, when it comes to media diversity, I haven't been all that impressed with what the ACCC have already done. Remember, the ACCC approved Nine's purchase of the Sydney Morning Herald, The Age and the Australian Financial Review, what used to be called Fairfax. And this is the same Nine media mob that then hosted a fundraiser for Morrison and the Liberal Party just after the last election. And their chairman is Peter Costello. So much for media diversity with that one. Then, of course, we have the earlier ACCC decision, which is to authorise Murdoch to purchase Australian provincial newspapers. That's the mob who have owned and run regional newspapers right across Australia, particularly where I come from, up here in the People's Republic of Queensland. So what happened was virtually every paper in Queensland ends up in Murdoch's control, 13 of the 14 papers. Not much for media diversity there as well. So pardon me, ACCC, if I just get a bit sceptical about what happens with this proposal as well. I'm not the only one with a bit of scepticism here. I notice that the union representing working journalists, the MEAA, has raised some concerns as well. And I'm kind of with them on two big doubts. Doubt number one: if Murdoch and the others are able to charge Google and Facebook for content, what happens to the money? Does all that money just go neatly into Rupert's pocket? Well, what about regional newspapers, local newspapers? What about public interest journalism? In other words, the stuff that actually keeps media diversity alive. Don't know the answer to that, but frankly, you look carefully at the legislation, it's just not clear at all. Problem number two, it's called the ABC. Now, the ABC, in my view, has been drifting slowly to the right for quite a long period of time as they try and suck up to the current government to preserve their funding base. But guess what? With this new news media bargaining code, the ABC doesn't get permission to charge for its content with Google or Facebook. So what happens? No money for the national broadcaster. So not only does Scotty from marketing cut the ABC's budget, not only does the ABC have to grovel to the government and therefore turn its agenda increasingly to the right to protect its remaining budget, it doesn't get to extract new funding from either Google or Facebook. So what does that do for media diversity? Bugger all, in my view. So the ABC, regional papers, local papers, and the question of public interest journalism. So folks, when we look at Scotty from marketing's new law and Uncle Rupert getting really excited about it, I've got to say, I get really, really worried. And if it's good enough for the ACCC to conduct an inquiry into Google and Facebook, how about the ACCC conducting an inquiry into the Murdoch media themselves and the extent to which they have become a genuine cancer on our democracy? And if they won't do it, it's time for a Royal Commission.